so fancy with my microphone. I don't know how to do this. What I'm doing. That should work. Hi friends, and welcome back to Daisy Chain Principles, or welcome if you are new. Either way, I'm so happy you're here with me today. Today we are going to be discussing a question that comes up constantly. I just dropped something and I can't find it, so that's an issue for another time. And the question is, what do I do when my husband is not on board with homeschooling? And I really feel for people going through this when you know the value of bringing your kids home and your spouse can't see it. So I think this is a really legitimate question, and there is so much more hope than people realize. And actually give you some tools, not to persuade or to manipulate. Because I think we would all agree we don't just want to get our way in bringing our kids home, but we want our spouse to share the experience with us and see the value in the work you're trying to do by protecting your kids, by treating them like individuals, by going at their pace, moving them from things like bullying situations. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from my friend Dana Martin. She is a leader in the unschooling world. She reminded me that beneath any lashing out from our spouses or any disagreement, there is a need beneath that disagreement has got to be met. So can you meet that need? Ask them what their fears are. What are the shortcomings in the children going to be? Typically we hear a lot of they're not going to be socialized, not going to be up to state standards, they're not going to know how to teach them through high school. What about a diploma? You're assuming that what the public school provides is enough. A child that graduates from the public school system is well-rounded in education and ready for the real world. Is that what we find in every child that graduates the public school system? But I digress. First of all, I would tell you to not doubt yourself and remain confident in what you believe about homeschool. There are some basic principles of people skills and how people function just can't get around. And one is that you have to honor where they are coming from and how they feel and what they believe. Because you can be right at the top of your lungs, but if you do not understand how people work, you will have an audience of zero. But to give you an example, say that your husband or wife's primary concern is that the child is not going to be properly socialized. We hear this so much in the homeschooling space that most of us actually just start laughing when people say it. We know that the whole idea of socialization is a sham. There is no science behind that concern. You can know that in your spirit. You should be confident in that, of course. But if that's the attitude you're going to approach your spouse with, they're going to go into defense mode and they're going to shut down on you right away. So when your spouse tells you, I'm worried they're not going to be properly socialized, I would dismiss your fear, validate that, and ask them to tell you more about it. I understand going from being in a class of 20 kids to now only being home with their family. It's very unfamiliar territory, and what if it does end up not being healthy for them? I can only imagine how you feel. Don't be afraid to validate where they're coming from. They need that. It is human nature that we don't believe a word that comes out of our family's mouth. Whether or not the information is true has nothing to do with it. Another example might be, well, I'm afraid that we're just not going to be able to teach them enough. We haven't been in school for 25 years. How are you going to know the high school material? How are they going to get a diploma? What if they want to go to college? You're not trained to be a teacher. There's always just the general argument of it not being enough. And again, put your fear aside, validate their feelings. It's imperative to getting them to hear you. Say, I totally get where you're coming from. I'm not a teacher. I want to make sure there are no gaps too. It's just that I haven't found that the public school themselves are meeting that need. After you have validated where they're coming from, use something called third-party validation. Use a third-party professional to expose them to the idea. Find a really good homeschool documentary or podcast or book if you're married to a reader, and invite your spouse to watch that, listen to that, read it with you, and then tell them that you really value their feedback. They're gonna listen to basically anyone else that is positioned as an authority on that topic is going to have more rapport with them than you or anyone else in their family. Hi there, this is the next day. I just wanted to insert something. This strategy is useful not just for family. Anytime you are trying to pose as an authority on a topic, the person you're talking to is not convinced that you are the authority on the topic, and this is incredibly effective. Again, I will give a bad example and a good example. If your spouse is worried about your child socializing, a bad way to approach them would be, you just think that because you're indoctrinated by the state to socialization isn't even a thing, it's a sham. You don't socialize kids anyway, you socialize dogs. Homeschoolers have been statistically proven to be better socially. And you just need to trust me because I am your wife and obviously I'm going to do what's best for the kids. It's an example of being right at the top of your lungs and getting nowhere. A more effective way would be, I totally understand how you feel. I used to feel the same way. We're taking them away from a whole building full of people they socialized with every day and going against the grain and taking a leap of faith. I found this really great podcast from a lady who is a retired teacher. She taught for over 20 years and socialization was one of her primary concerns, but she found that the public school wasn't delivering the amazing social skills it was promising. And I just thought she had some really great insights. Would you be open to listening to this podcast with me next time we take a drive? Would you be open to listening to this on your way to work? Would you be open to watching this with me, reading this with me in bed? Can never give any guarantees of being able to convert anybody. But if you want a chance, validate where they are coming from. Use third-party professional validation to show them where you're going. One more insertion here, that I am also involving something called the feel, felt, found method here. Something I learned from being in sales for 3 years. It's a form of validation where you tell someone, I understand how you feel. I have felt the same. But this is what I found. You're not dismissing them, you're actually validating them before you move them over into the third-party validation process. I understand how you feel, I have felt the same way, and this is what I found. Remove yourself from the picture entirely. Remove your fears entirely. Remove taking personal offense to him not automatically believing you because it came from you. And because I believe in this so entirely, do not take for granted the power of prayer. I really believe that that is a powerhouse strategy to pray and to fearlessly and lovingly approach your spouse with honor for where they are coming from and how they feel to begin with, and then letting someone else more professional that has been in this longer do all the talking for you. I have experienced that this approach is really, really helpful. I hope that this helps you. You are doing the right thing for your family, and I believe God will bless it. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and comment below with any questions you might have, and I'll see you next time. Bye.